Hi, my name's Sue Pickett and I'm at Eltham High School. I'm the Additional Needs Coordinator. Here at Eltham High School we are a school of Year 7 to 12 and we have approximately 1,450 students with over 100 staff. On the program for students with disabilities we have 40 funded students. So to support the 40 funded students we have on the program for students with disabilities, we currently have 17 education support staff who work with students. We work as a team, we design our processes as a team, and we're always checking in to see how we can further develop them and improve them to be more effective. One of our latest tools that we've come up with is called a study planner, and I guess this came around because I was witnessing a new education support staff member struggling to get a student to engage. And they were in a study session, so the student was working one-to-one with the aide, and they were pretty resistant to getting started. So what I suggested was we really need to give the student the buy-in. They need to see that they're in control of their session. And we all know as educators that these sessions can go on a bit long and kids find it hard to persist and to keep pushing through to get some work done. Because of that, often they come up with reasons why they can't even start. They might be too tired, they didn't sleep last night, they don't feel well, and numerous other excuses. And it's really, I sense that they're trying to take control of the session and also not have to do too much at some times. So with this study planner, what we do is we map out with the student what it is that they would like to achieve in that session, where they'd like to have their brain breaks or their movement breaks, and we lock it all in on the template. This means that the student can then take charge, take ownership. With kids that are resistant or aren't very good at telling the time, we also use timers. And when I have a really resistant student, I might ask them, please start the timer, and they can't resist tipping over that sand timer and getting going. So we're setting goals, so what they'd like to achieve in that session. We look at what they'd like to do as an incentive or as a reward or for some downtime, and we map it all in so that it's clear, we have the arrangement, they can see they don't have to keep pushing or kind of coercing you into getting what they want. They can see that it's been validated, we know what they want, it's there in front of them, and we can stick to the plan and get going. So when we look at the study planner, a couple of things to note that are important. We use hard copy because kids often need something concrete that they can touch. Also, we all know the challenges of students being on screens all the time, so we don't want them flipping screens. They can draw on it and write on it themselves, and it gives them another sense of control. For, I guess, the purposes of the cost, we do just print this out in greys because it keeps the photocopying cost down even though it looks good in colour. You can definitely use colour, and the students can choose the colour that they want to use on this, another way of taking control. And then I would also suggest that if you've had a particularly tricky session with a student, there's a spot down the bottom to take some notes, and this is really great evidence or information to take to your student support group meetings, one that you have every term, to meet with the student support group meeting, the members being, usually parents, sometimes the students. So that can also map out what's worked well and what has been a challenge, and they can see another tool that you're using with their student. So we've just talked about how we use a study planner. I guess the most important key points to using this, it's really worth getting to use this resource and using it regularly with your students so they know that's the go-to of how they're going to plan their session so that they get what they want and we get them invested in their learning and completing work. A great little tool, we've found it already really useful with our students, and the kids are starting to really look for it and become engaged with it. So it's their buy-in.